The mechanic fixing my car asked me, "Did your dad buy this used from someone local?" "Yeah, he bought it from some guy on Craigslist about 3 months ago, but I'm the one who drives it mostly now since I just got my license." The mechanic wiped his hands on a rag and walked me around to the front of my Subaru Legacy, while my dad waited in the shop's lobby scrolling through his phone, probably answering work emails. We'd brought the car in for a simple oil change, but the mechanic had been under there for way longer than normal, and now his face looked like someone had died. He popped the hood and pointed a flashlight at something underneath that I couldn't really see from where I was standing, but his hand was trembling. "You need to get your dad over here right now, and nobody drives this car again until we fix this." His voice was steady, but there was something in his eyes that made my stomach drop, like when you miss a step going downstairs. Someone wanted you dead, and they almost succeeded. Another day or two of driving this thing, and you wouldn't be standing here. "What's wrong with it?" I asked, while texting my dad to come outside immediately, but the mechanic was already taking pictures with his phone and muttering about calling the police, which made no sense for a car repair. My dad pushed through the door looking annoyed because he'd been in the middle of a work call, but his expression changed when he saw the mechanic's face. The mechanic grabbed a trouble light and aimed it at the brake lines near the master cylinder, showing us cuts that went almost all the way through the metal. These were sliced to leak slowly over weeks, so when they finally failed, it would look like a tragic accident that nobody would question. He moved the light to show 3 different cut points, all at calculated angles that would have failed simultaneously. Professional job, but they made one mistake. They used a specific cutting pattern I've only seen once before. My dad's face went white as he stared at the sabotaged brake lines, and I remembered last week when I'd slammed the brakes to avoid a dog and felt them go completely soft for a terrifying second before catching. The mechanic kept staring at the cuts like they were a signature, and then walked to the car's rear bumper where there was a faded church sticker. "Was there a saint medallion hanging from the rearview mirror when you bought it?" My dad nodded slowly, and the mechanic's hands started shaking worse as he stepped back from the car. "This belonged to my sister Nina, and that cutting pattern is exactly how her husband Greg showed me to slice fishing line when we went deep sea fishing last year." He pulled out his phone and started scrolling through photos until he found one of this exact car in a driveway with the same dent in the passenger door. She sold it without telling him because she was leaving him after he put her in the hospital twice, but he must have thought she still had it. The mechanic called someone, and I heard him say frantically, "Nina, you need to get out of that apartment right now. Greg knows where you are, and he already tried to kill you once." My dad called 911 while the mechanic stayed on with his sister, telling her to pack nothing and just drive to the police station immediately. The officers arrived fast with their lights flashing and treated our car like an attempted murder scene, while the mechanic explained that Greg had been escalating his violence and had told multiple people at their church that if he couldn't have Nina, nobody could, especially not some other man. The detective examined the brake lines with gloved hands and confirmed this was designed to fail catastrophically at high speed, probably while going downhill or merging onto the highway. The way these are cut, you'd have about 2 seconds of pumping the pedal before total brake failure, at which point most people would already be in a fatal collision. He looked at me and asked if I'd noticed anything unusual while driving lately, and suddenly I remembered 3 different times in the past week when cars had honked at me for stopping too slowly at red lights, and once when I'd nearly rear-ended someone. The mechanic's phone rang and his sister's name appeared on the screen, but when he answered and put it on speaker, it wasn't her voice we heard. "Tell her if she doesn't come home in the next hour, I'm burning everything she owns, starting with her mother's wedding dress that she loves so much." Greg's voice was calm, like he was ordering coffee, which made it somehow worse than if he'd been screaming with rage. The detective grabbed the phone and identified himself as law enforcement, but Greg just laughed and said, "Good luck proving anything, officer," before hanging up, leaving us standing there in the shop's parking lot. That's when the mechanic told us the real reason his sister had finally gotten the courage to leave Greg after years of abuse. She'd discovered he'd done this exact same thing before to his first wife, who had died in a brake failure accident 5 years ago.